I mean, it was the just loneliest. It was such a awful time in life, and I just felt hopeless.
Welcome to the Controlled Health Podcast, where we discuss topics on whole body wellness so that you can take back control of your health. Hello, and welcome to the Controlled Health Podcast. My name's Andrea. I'm your host. First, I just need to say it's been a long time since I've done a video, and it was a much needed break, but I'm ready to rock and roll, get back to it. I'm looking forward to doing more videos of just me talking about certain topics, and then of course doing my interviews. But I'm super excited. I finally finished my NTP school, and I got a new job. So it's been a little stressful finishing up school and doing job transition, and I needed to put YouTube on the back burner, but I'm back, and I'm really excited to obviously offer a free education for people so that they can live healthier lifestyles. So in today's video, I spoke with a dear friend. Her name is Lauren. She is an author and a podcast host of Healing Lyme with Lauren. She is also a coach, but she loves to help people who are also battling chronic illness and facing other health struggles. We talk about Lyme, mold, endometriosis, a whole bunch of stuff in today's video. And she is such a strong woman, and I just really enjoyed our chat. Please remember that these shows are for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please speak with a medical professional if you choose to implement anything that is talked about in these episodes. Please also like, share, comment, subscribe so that I can put out more content and free education for people who are struggling and to give hope to people with chronic illness. All right, now to the interview. Okay. All right. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Controlled Health Podcast. I have a sweet friend on. Her name is Lauren. We met through the great world of social media, and we also have similar health struggles, and I just wanted to interview her and what she's been through, and hopefully she can shed some light on Lyme disease and just hope in chronic illness. So how has your week been? How are you? What's going on?
That's a loaded question. It's been a pretty good week. Yeah, it's been a pretty good week. Definitely. There's been so much pivoting happening in my life the last couple months. So there's just a lot going on all the time. My sister just had a baby, and that's been really exciting. And yeah, just a lot going on, but it's good. It's good. I feel like things are getting a lot better in my world. So yeah, it's good.
So I know you have one book, and you're writing a couple others. Can you talk a little bit about the book that's finished and that's out?
Yeah. So the first book, it's called Silent Suffering, and it's the subtitle is Finding God's Faithfulness in Chronic Lyme Disease. And it's really just about my journey with Lyme disease. And I mean, that started from when I was a young girl, and kind of just all the ups and downs of healing, and just how God's been so near to me through all of it, and just how he's provided through all of it. It really is just a culmination of just stories of this happened and this happened, and then it's just everything that's happened throughout my journey. And I'm in the middle of rewriting the last few chapters, or at least a couple of them. I'm trying to figure it all out. Just a lot going on in my brain of how can I share this in a way that brings hope to people. So that's what I'm working on right now.
You also have a podcast, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What's the name of your podcast?
Healing Lyme with Lauren. It's all about Lyme, everything. I'm kind of moving to where I don't want to be as much about Lyme. So I'm thinking about starting a podcast called A Whole New Life, where like it's a little bit different. It's not just talking about Lyme, but yeah, I've had that podcast for a couple years and I've really enjoyed it. Like it's just been such a cool outlet to like just share people's stories and talk about all the lessons I've learned in Lyme, and like I've loved it. So yeah.
So can you describe a little bit of what you experienced as a kid and how you got diagnosed? And let's just start there and we can kind of work our way up.
Yeah. So when I was young, I started having really bad arthritis. Like, I couldn't even walk from one to the other, and started getting like these rashes and just like all this random stuff. I was living in a really like 100-year-old, really old moldy house.
Wow.
Also dealing with just like a ton of trauma and just a lot of stuff going on in our family's world. And so I, at 9 years old, I got diagnosed with, they were like, we have no idea how long you've already had it. And my dad also got diagnosed. So we both got diagnosed with Lyme. And then I was like on antibiotics for, I don't know, maybe like a year and a half or something. And it was like, I went from being this like old lady, like really functioning well in my teen years. So like from when I was like 13 to 17, I had like a pretty normal, like I had like, you know, I always thought it was like growing pains, and I still had like Epstein-Barr all the time. I had to like get my tonsils removed. Like I still had like immune problems, like immune induced problems and stuff. But like I had a totally normal social life. Like I had a lot of friends, like things were totally normal. I was a runner, like I was planning to run in college and stuff. And then I had an injury my senior year, a really bad back injury. And then I went overseas. I went to, I went to a couple different countries, and I was doing mission work down there. And when I was doing that, my body just like fell apart. And so it went from, you know, being this like really strong athlete to like not even being able to do like very basic things. It was hard to sit down because of the pain. It was hard to walk. It was hard to do like anything. And that was when I was like 18. Well, really, I would say like 19, 20 was when it like really hit hard. Like it was already like happening when I was 18, but then like when I was 19, 20, it was just like hit really hard. So then I moved back home, and started trying to work with doctors and stuff, and like was just super gaslit by them, and was just like, I mean, I have so many horror stories like all of that. And it was it was like a couple years of just like not getting any answers, and like I really felt like I just had this like deep feeling that Lyme again. But we hadn't really been educated on it when I was a kid, so I didn't know like how it worked and how it could come back, but I just really had that gut feeling. And then also endometriosis, which was another thing that I was diagnosed. Mm-hmm. You know, that's very blanket. I feel like so many women now have it. It's crazy. Which I feel like I learn more of like the root causes of that and what has like really caused all that. But yeah, so it was like a ton of just, I mean, it was the just loneliest. It was such a awful time in life. And I just felt hopeless, you know. And I just didn't know what to do. And then I had a friend from Canada, and she was like, hey, you know, my family and my church, like, we want to just like take you in and like help fundraise. At that time I was fundraising for the Lyme Institute in Florida, which was a whole other story. Mm-hmm. Really going into the whole story for you. You're fine. But yeah, so she was like, I'm gonna buy you a flight, and like I just want to like help you. And so I was like, okay. And so that was the beginning of like I mean, really, that's when I was 22, maybe 23. I think I was 22, and now I'm about to be 31. So it was the beginning of just like this whole healing journey. And God really just up in absolutely insane, miraculous ways. And a lot of like ups and downs, like some really scary times of like, what is happening? But it always was like, at the end of the day, like, it's just been such a crazy journey, all of it. But it's been good, and I feel like a different person than that person, you know, even from 3 years ago, I'm a different person. So it's cool because as you heal, I feel like you just become so much more of an authentic version of yourself, and you learn so much about yourself. Like I would not trade the journey for anything. Like I really would not. As much as like I look at a lot of my old friends who like they're married, they have kids, like it's all just like that's their life and it's great. It's like I am so thankful for my life and how it's played out, and I just feel like I get to know God in like so many other ways than just these like basic ways. And it's like I wouldn't trade it. So
That reminds me of, do you know Elizabeth Elliot?
yeah.
She has a book called Suffering is Never for Nothing.
Mm.
And you know, the Bible talks about it, like what a privilege it is to suffer, honestly, to where we lose everything and the only thing that we can cling to is Christ, and we're able to build such a strong relationship from nothing, right? And not that other people don't have that or don't suffer in certain ways, but you know, people specifically with Lyme disease or chronic illness, it's just such a different type of loneliness. I think we were talking about that earlier. It's just it's such a different world. It kind of feels like you're in a different world sometimes, but I kind of had a similar circumstance. I started getting joint pain when I was young, and you know, they were just like, oh, you're fine, you know, you're just growing. And then eventually it got to the point where it was really bad, but I was able to manage it with the food I ate. So I started cutting out, you know, dairy, wheat, all those things. But then into my about 3 years ago is when everything just came crashing down, and that's when I became bedridden. And like you said, I was like I was doing training Muay Thai 2 hours a day, and then like the next day I couldn't get out of bed, kind of thing. You know, I think the hardest part, and well, I'll ask you this: what is the hardest part of almost losing your freedom in a sense?
Oh, man, it's like raining. I don't know if you can hear the rain. The rain just hit. It's like I'm like, this is such a load. Like, how do I answer this question? I mean, I would say probably just like the misunderstandings from friends and family of like,
there's nothing wrong with you.
yeah, and you might like it's been hard because there's some relationships where I'm like, oh, this person, they don't get it, and that's okay, and I don't expect them to, but like, they hear me and they like get a little bit to where they're not gonna like, you know, gaslight me or whatever. And so it's really hard when you feel like you have that with people and then like they're like they don't get it anymore and you're like, what? Like I just want people to like just have that grace for me that like it's very confusing. And
Yeah.
you know, the way I carry myself is like I feel like I carry myself very strong, and I don't wear it on my sleeve. I just don't. And that's confusing. It's just very confusing for people. So I feel like just I would say probably just the misunderstandings and the loneliness. I mean, it's very, very lonely. You know, most of my relationships and friendships like have not like lasted because like mostly because of that. And I hate even saying that, but truth, you know. It's the truth. So I think that's why it is so important to have like people who understand Like, I have a couple friends who are just like, they understand me on such a deep level, and it's the most healing thing ever. But it's not like we sit in the trenches. It's not like we're like, oh my gosh, this is awful. It's just like, hey, can you pray for me with this? Like, this is hard. And they just get it. You don't have to like explain, like, my brain feels like it's vibrating or whatever. It's just
right,
like,
right,
they're like, I get it. Like, you're not crazy,
right.
So yeah, I would probably say that whole aspect. And even with like jobs and like just all the demands of life that come at you just as a human being, it's difficult to find people who have that, like, understanding that, there's ebbs and flows. So it's something where I've had to kind of be like, I kind of just want to be self-employed, like not have employers, because most of those jobs just didn't last, which is hard. So there's just so much grief that comes with it that you have to really let yourself feel and move through, really. But yeah, that's probably what I would say.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that the job I currently have, that my boss understands, and I kind of, as long as I get what I need to get done and I meet my quota and stuff, they don't say anything. So there's days, when I don't feel good or I have to take it easy or whatever, and I'm able to do that, which has been such a blessing. And yeah, just there's a couple of documentaries. I think I watched I'm not was it I'm not crazy, I'm sick, or it was a pretty good one. But just the misunderstanding from people. I've gotten to a point where it's just like, hey, I just don't feel good today. I'm gonna, I have to, or like I have to cancel. I just don't feel good. But I think I've gotten pretty good to a point where, well, like us, we were trying to schedule this podcast. Two people with Lyme trying to schedule a podcast is quite.
Yes.
It's fun. But yeah, I think I've gotten to a point where, I plan my weeks out. Like on Sunday night, like tonight, I'll just plan everything out and try and, okay, I overbooked myself today. I need to cancel or move this. And I try to like make sure I have enough like time to just have to myself. Which I think honestly that contributed to my illness, was that I didn't allow any time for myself. I just go, 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 people pleaser, live in fear of, missing out, and trying to be everywhere at once. And the Lord really was like, stop, Um, but I had a question. So you said you had endometriosis. I didn't know that. I'm interested because so I've got some issues going on. They don't, obviously they don't know what it is until they do,
Yeah.
like surgery, but um I have a mass on my right ovary, and they don't think it's not, they're not cysts. Um it's like a mass, and they think it may be like endometriosis lining or whatever. It doesn't give me problems. I have pretty painful periods, but nothing like crazy. But what do you think that Lyme had caused the or is part of the endometriosis?
Yeah, there basically, I'm a doctor in, where was he? Pennsylvania, and he taught me a whole lot about endo and how, in a sense, it's just a very blanket statement for women, and then they keep coming in for these surgeries. I had a laparoscopy in 2014 and then 2018, and both of those, they removed, the growths, endometriosis growths on my left ovary. But I kept having issues, and I was like, okay, like what is really going on? So, I'm not a doctor. I don't know all things, but I do believe like one of the biggest causes for that is parasites. Because as soon as I started really legitimately parasite cleansing and like seeing all of them come out, hundreds and hundreds of, those buggers, I started to like literally get so much pain, like with my periods and stuff, which I was like, this is crazy. And then I think it's kind of a conglomerate, because for me it's been like candida, Epstein-Barr, parasites, Lyme, all of that. That's just those things. And then there's another one. Oh, just like doing gut healing. Like as I've like healed my gut, the endo stuff has just like really gotten better. And I had a big flare in like April, and I was like, what is this? Like, so painful. And I hadn't had one in like years. And I think it was just from stress and everything. So it's crazy how stress affects your body. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I feel like there's so many women with Lyme and parasites who have endometriosis, whether diagnosed or not diagnosed. So yeah.
So it's interesting you said that, like the stress. So I noticed that. Did you get your wisdom teeth removed? Do you still have your wisdom teeth?
I got them removed, yeah.
So the doctor who removed my wisdom teeth did not do a good job. And after I had gotten that surgery, I kind of went downhill. And I was, how old? I was like 19, 20. I think I was 20. When I became better and I was looking into like Lyme and stuff, and I learned about like the cavitations from surgeries like that, I was like, man, I need to see if I have cavitations. There's a couple of doctors around here that actually specialize. Well, one's in South Carolina, one's in Tennessee. It's just expensive, so it's not been a priority. But whenever I get stressed, I get these, it feels like I have cavities, but my jaw will ache and throb. And I was looking, and sometimes those cavitations, like the Lyme and other parasites or whatever, can like harbor in those cavitations in your jaw. Yeah. And I was like, man, I need to I need to figure this out. But then part of me is like, all right, Lord, like you will, like if you want this to happen, you'll make a way. And if not, like your grace is sufficient right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm stressed, I'll get jaw pain, and I'll get like pain like in my lymph nodes too.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm getting stressed out.
Yeah.
So I slow down.
Yeah. Mental health is massive. It's so important. Like when I was working with a practitioner in Seattle, she essentially, it was like 6 or 7 years ago, she was like, I literally think that like you're not fully healing from Lyme because you have this like chronic infection in your jaw, which is what she found, and which the left side, you know, all of it. It's bizarre with the Lyme stuff. I feel like that's common for people with the facial paralysis and everything. It's always like one side.
It's my right jaw, my right armpit, and like all the, or my, this is my left.
Yeah.
It's my left side.
Yeah.
Sorry, go.
No, yeah. And like I had gotten root canals on my left side when I was a teenager. They were crappy. The dentist did a crappy job. They would get infected. I would have to go back in and redone. They're so bad for you. I'm like, all my friends and family get root canals. I'm like, please don't do this. Basically, it's a long story, but I ended up going out to Germany to work with this dentist. He's this holistic dentist, and it was actually way cheaper, even with my flight, for me to like get it done by him. So he pulled out just like this massive cyst in my jaw that had like a nervous system of its own, like just like crazy stuff. And whenever all of that, when I like got rid of all of that, oh my gosh, like the toxic load that I was carrying with that was insane. And so I had like really intense die off, like scary, after that dental surgery. But it just goes to show like how much your dental health is, how important it is. So I highly, highly suggest and recommend to people, if you need to get a cavitation surgery, like even if you have to go into debt, like do it because it's so important. So
Yeah, I will talk to you after about that.
yeah.
I'm interested. I didn't get cavities until I had gotten sick. I noticed that I was sleeping with my mouth open, which I'm not sure if that was a result of just like being in fight or flight or what. And then just I started to get cavities, and they wanted to do a root canal on that back tooth, but I told them no, and I tried to heal it naturally, and I don't know if I healed it a little bit, but then I ended up a year later going to a different dentist, and I was like, hey, they're like, you have a pretty bad cavity back there. We need to do something about it. So they put a crown on it, but he's a biological dentist, so they put ozone in it first to like disinfect everything, and then put a crown on it. But I still kind of regret even getting a crown. But all my other teeth are doing pretty well. So, and actually, since I started doing carnivore, my teeth have gotten a lot better and stronger. My teeth used to be really, if I like pushed my bottom teeth up against my front teeth, I could feel like my teeth moving.
Mm.
And now they're like really strong and they
Mm.
don't move. So I'm doing
Yeah.
something right. My teeth, my nails are stronger now too. So just slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So with the endometriosis, this is just, I just have some friends that are dealing with it, and it just seems to be such a, like you said, like everybody seems to be getting it. What are you currently still dealing with symptoms, or have you been able to like overcome most of that?
Like I said, back in April, I had a pretty big flare up. It was really scary, but then my doctor just put me on like, it's like Inistol, like
And I
my,
saw.
yeah, inositol. There we go. Um, that has like been helping so much. I think my hormones were super whacked out because of stress. So I think that was like contributing. Um, and yeah, I haven't been having like pain or anything. They did find like a really small cyst, which sometimes, those pass. Sometimes you have to like, I don't know. I'm trying not to like worry too much about it because I'm like, I get cysts like all over, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's just biofilm, like Lyme, like it's just, that's how it likes to hide in cyst form. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'll just keep treating the Lyme and keep doing all that. But yeah, it was bad at that point, but it's definitely doing better now. So yeah.
So do you do parasite cleanses periodically? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, one of my friends recently was like, dude, you gotta do like more hardcore. And I'm like, I just don't want to because, like, for me, sometimes if with parasite cleansing, it can be difficult because if you go too hard, too quick, you can get more of a toxic load and then you just get sicker because the toxins are just building up. So, one of those things where I have to be super careful and I have to be in a place where I'm not super stressed out. Like we about stress is just so big. So, and then having my drainage pathways open, I have homeopathics that help with that. And then having proper binders, which all those are really, like, not all of them are really pricey, but usually I do biotoxic binder with Cellcore. I also just love chlorella, even though I know it doesn't bind up everything as much. Ever since I got my dental surgery, like it's been my like top binder that has been so helpful for me. With like even mood, and it has chlorophyll in it too, and I just love it. So, and it's really cheap. It's like I buy Dr. Chlorella brand. It's like $15. I'm like, sweet. But yeah, parasite cleansing. I mean, I've done so many of the years, but it's crazy because even when I started healing my gut like 3 years ago, just from taking even like gut supplements, like probiotics, like the right ones for me, for my body, when I started taking those, I just started getting rid of parasites. So I feel like parasites, like they just cling to, they're like an energetic thing, and not to make this like all woo woo weird, but like,
No, you're good.
it's totally an energetic thing. And I think there's some parasites that don't harm you, that are just there, and it's okay. You know, like you don't have to just kill every like I was in such a kill mode for years of like get everything out, you know, and now it's like, well, maybe, you know, maybe some of these aren't causing any harm and we don't have to just ruffle any feathers right now, because sometimes if you're in fight or flight and like your nervous system can't handle it, it could just be too much for you. So I go back and forth with all that. But I mean, I take like mimosa paducah seed a lot, which I know that's not an actual, it doesn't actually kill the worms, but it grabs, you know, it grabs them and you can see them come out. So I like doing that around the full moon. And then sometimes I'll take more intense stuff, you know, like clove and like other herbs and stuff. But I really try to just listen to my body, and like, I love like juicing, you know, like I'm pretty carnivore. Like I just love eating red meat all the time. It's like my body just loves it. Like bison and like gamey meat. Love it. um, but there are times where my like with parasites and stuff where I feel like I just need to like do a 2-day cleanse, which doesn't happen that much. And I know people talk about, you know, your blood sugar and like all that stuff. I get it. Like there's pros and cons to everything, but for me, it's only every few months where I feel that I just need to like not be eating just tons of vegetables and meat. And like still doing protein powder and like making sure I'm getting protein. That seems to really like help it too. So
Yeah, I love carnivore, but I do think that vegetables and stuff can help bind to those things. The fiber can help get them out. And it can help our microbiome, with all the, the fiber will feed our microbiome as well. So my mycotoxin panel, when I moved to North Carolina, I did a like a blood mycotoxin test, and it like everything was like really bad. And the doctor's like, I've never seen it this bad, and I was like, okay. So he had recommended like a prescription antifungal, and I rejected it. That was last August, and then a couple months ago, I met up with him again, and my thyroid, I have like my reverse T3 isn't converting, so it's like hypothyroid, and he's like, I think it's the mold, and I was like, okay, well, okay, I'll take the antifungal, but now I'm scared to do like a parasite cleanse while I'm on the antifungal, and just there's just so much, and I'm gonna start doing ozone therapy again. Have you tried ozone therapy before?
yeah, I am a huge fan of ozone. I did ozone therapy in the beginning of Lyme treatment like 10 years ago. I would get the IVs and everything. But that's very pricey. And so a few years ago, I'm just going to get my own ozone machine. It's literally, there's one that's like $50, another that's 100. They're both great. And I just do ozone enemas all the time. I do that all the time, like throughout the month, not just full moon. So that seems to help me a ton. And ozone is amazing. The benefits are incredible. So like, I know when I first did it, it was like pretty hard on my body and like had die off. But now, point where it's like, it's just simple. It's easy.
Feels good.
Yeah, it's not like coffee enemas sometimes like are a bit much for me. Like I'm like, this is a lot, but I love ozone, and I like use ozone water for like, you know, cleaning vegetables, or like I gargle it in the morning. Like it's just like, it's my favorite. So yeah,
I gotta look into that. My friend had one. She would make ozone face cream. She would
ooh,
make like olive oil and jojoba oil and stuff, and put the ozone in it, and it was awesome.
that's
But the doctor I go to, they do offer the ozone enemas.
cool.
They're a lot cheaper. They're like $40 instead of like 230.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do that in between. Maybe I'll just get my own, because I did it when I first got sick. I did it, but I only did it for 4 weeks, and I only got one pass. The clinic I'm at now, they're looking at getting an EBOO machine, so it's like the dialysis kind of ozone, which I think would really help. But so actually, I don't know if you know this. Let's say I do have an infection in my jaw. If I do an ozone treatment, would that help with the jaw infection, or do you actually have to go and get a cavitation specialist to take everything out, or you don't?
I'm not positive, but like I know for me he had to actually take out, you know, both of these teeth and then the cyst that was in there and then ozonate it. I think he put like inject antibiotic too, maybe like some, what's that really common one? I can't remember.
Penicillin?
No, I don't know.
Doxycycline?
Amoxicillin maybe? I don't know. I think it might have been amoxicillin. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where I don't know how much just ozone, like maybe injecting ozone in there could be really helpful. I don't know if it's actually going to deal with the root issue, because if those teeth are, infected or messed up, like it's just going to keep back.
What have you found the most helpful through your Lyme journey? Or how about the top three? Top three things.
Oh man, I could list like 45.
I know. Top three that somebody could start implementing now if they needed to.
I mean, honestly, I could say like all these treatments and things, like I love red light. I always have my red light on me. I love grounding. I love, drinking good water and like just all these like basic essentials. I think what's helped me more than anything has been nervous system and limbic system, like calming that down.
Exercises, yeah.
Yeah. So, I started DNRS, I think it was 3.5 years ago now. I think it's 2.5 or 3.5. I think it was 3.5. And that was very, very helpful. But it only got me to a certain point. And then I started learning, all these like somatic things and releasing trauma and TRE, trauma release, and, like incorporating all these like faster EFT, tapping, like all these things into my day-to-day life. I would say that's probably just becoming like more regulated allows me to heal so much more and like deal with things. Like if I'm having a bad pain day, which I don't like saying that, but if there are days that are harder, it's like I'm so much more resourced. Like I feel way less like my mind doesn't go to the worst anymore. It's like there's just so much more ease to my days, and I'm not so like stressed out about what's coming next. It's like days are just way more calm, so it's like just calming everything down has been the biggest, because that helps with inflammation a ton, all that. So I would probably say that like has been the biggest. And then I mean, I'm like, I could say,
probably gut health maybe is a
gut health for sure, and like hormones and all that too. I mean, it sounds kind of maybe odd to say, but really like learning how to set boundaries and let go of toxic relationships. Like toxic relationships just suck the life out of you. So I feel like a lot of women I meet who have chronic illness, like they have had a lot of toxic people in their lives, and like not known how to handle it and like set boundaries for themselves. So for me, that's been a massive one. And just like learning how to love myself, like really, not as like, oh my gosh, like just love me, but like really like because the whole like self-love thing, like a couple years ago I was like like but I do feel like God's been showing me like just, even I think there were some resentments within myself of like just so much anger towards my body of like, why aren't you working, and instead of that, like actually working with it and being like, tuning into myself and being like, what do you want, what do you need, like, and just like caring for myself in ways that only I, like obviously God is like he's the one who is bringing the healing and all of that, but I feel like I have to be a good steward of like my body and my health and taking care of it. So
I think that's a hard message to get across in the Christian community. I've struggled to find the right words because of all the kind of new age, like you said, like the self-love and all that kind of thing. And it's, the second commandment is love your neighbor as yourself. And we can't really love our neighbor if we have nothing to give.
yeah.
If we have nothing, we can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And we even see, Jesus set such an amazing example for us of, he would go out to the masses and he would heal people. He would do these things, but he would retreat and he would set boundaries. And he would even tell people, like, don't tell people I healed you, because he knew that people were going to flock to him. He's like, don't do this. Obviously there was probably more higher divine reasons why he set boundaries. I think that's kind of became skewed in the Christian world. We don't want to be doormats, we want to be able to minister to people, and like you said, be good stewards of what the Lord has given us. And I think that's such a powerful message.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. I feel like so people can be so extreme one way or another, like people in the church are like, this way, or, these super new agey hippie people are like super this way. And it's like, there's a middle ground here, like you can love God and you can love yourself and you can have boundaries and you can actually become like such a vibrant whole person who's like showing up so differently in the world, instead of like just running on fumes and being like, I gotta serve. Like I was like that, like when I was in missions and everything, like it was like I was just constantly on and was like going from thing to thing to thing to thing, like performing. And it's like I just feel that God is like so much more concerned about our hearts and like where we're at in the posture of our hearts than like what we're doing. Obviously we're called to serve people, but sometimes serving is literally like just listening to your friend talk to you on the phone about a hard day, and that's you serving that day, like it doesn't have to be like all this crazy stuff, like for me it's like I feel that I'm serving by like writing, like that's my gift, like that's one of my gifts. And so it's like using your gifts to the glory of God, like that's serving. You don't have to like wake up at 6 a.m. and like get on the worship team. Like some people are supposed to do that, but that's not what everyone's supposed to do. And I think sometimes Christians can look down and be like, well, you're not doing much. And it's like I have nothing. We have nothing to prove, like when you're chronically ill, just getting out of bed in the morning, that's a win. So like, don't let people tell you what you're supposed to do and not do. I'd go on a whole soapbox about this, but
no, when I got sick and I couldn't go to church, it was like, that big pillar of my life fell, and I started to see like, oh, am I trying to serve God with the works of my hands and not actually like have a relationship with him? And I now make sure, that I'm praying for people, that I ask them, how are you doing? What can I pray for you for? Because I can't go over there and, and spend time with you. Like there's some friends that, oh, let's hang out. I'm like, I can't hang out, but, what do you need prayer for? Or, these things. And that's such a big way that we can encourage each other in the body of Christ, is just pray for one another. And that not only strengthens our relationship with the Lord, but I feel like it gives us life to our bones as well. So what, I'm just interested to know what you think, but I hear people say, oh, you'll have Lyme forever, you'll deal with this forever. Or I hear, you'll heal, I'm healed, I have no symptoms. What is your take on that? I don't know if that's a hard question to answer, but obviously my hope is that I will be better than I was before, but I also come to the reality that that may not be in my cards. Because I know people who are like, I'm completely healed
Yeah.
and I have nothing wrong. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Like,
No. And yeah, I mean, I've heard some really, really crazy, amazing stories of people fully healing. I just believe that like it can happen for all of us. That's what I believe. But also holding that reality of like so many of us aren't fully healed yet. And there's all these, medical, like there's all the studies to say like, well, it's still there, but like, it's not active, it's dormant and everything. My take is that God is the God of miracles. Like God is literally capable of healing everything, every cell, every part of your DNA, every able to literally eradicate the Lyme bacteria, like, you know what I mean? And that's my like belief on it, is like that I'm going to be fully healed, that I'm going to have kids one day. And I feel like I have that hope and belief for other people in my life who have it, because it's like, it's such a testimony to God's goodness. And yeah, it's invisible and people never saw what was like going on, but to see someone come back to life, like for me, it's like, I was in a wheelchair 4 years ago, and a lot of that was hidden. Like nobody saw it because it was just, me, and I like wasn't really seeing anybody. But like to see even my demeanor, like who I was, when Lyme really had me taken out and I was like just lost kind of my identity. I was like, who the heck am I anymore if I'm not a runner, if I'm not this, if I, like you lose everything and you're just like sitting with this sick body. But it's like even seeing like my family and friends are like, you're a different person, like the way you're carrying yourself. And it's not even that, I could say all day long I'm healed, and all that. I still experience some things with it. It's, I'm still feeling some effects of it. I've healed tremendously. Like I get to go on walks. Like I couldn't walk, I couldn't even drive to the park. Like now it's like I get up, I sometimes even can jog a little bit. Like that is huge, like such a huge win for me. And like I just feel so much more life and like vibrancy in me. So it's like it's possible. It's so possible. And I think having that hope and belief is really important. I'm not saying like it's on you and your shoulders, like you have to have that hope and belief. Like when you don't have it, I think other people can have that for you, like can hold you up, hold your shoulders up and be like, I believe for you, because there's going to be times where you're just like, we're human, we can't just like or think our way out of it or brain retrain our way out of it. Like it's a real thing. It takes time, and it's a lot of just kind of undoing, really. I think for me is what it's been, coming back to just simplicity, literally. Like it's like I have such a simpler life, and it's like so much better. It's not like I have a billion things going on all the time, but I cherish, and I'm so much more present in my life and in the relationships I have than before. So it's like I could keep talking about this, but
no, that's so good. I think when was it Joshua? He was fighting the Israelite. Was it Joshua? And Moses, was it God? I can't. Well, Moses and and Aaron were praying for the fight, and when Moses would like let his hands down, the enemy would prevail. But when Moses lifted his hands up, Israel would win. And Moses just got so tired that Aaron and had to hold his hands up. And that's how I feel. That's how I felt when I was sick and I had people praying for me. I was like, I cannot, like, I need you guys to fight this with me. Like, I physically couldn't even lift my hands up, you know, like you said, I couldn't even get out of bed some days. And so it's just such a testimony to having community, and especially a Christian community, praying for you and being there for you. And well, you've encouraged me so much. How but we're gonna wrap it up. Where can people find you? And tell us your book again, and I don't know if you're announcing your other book, but we can talk about that too if you want.
Yeah, I'm sad that this is ending. I'm loving this.
That's great. I mean, we'll chat afterwards.
Yeah.
I can record or whatever, but
yeah. So I mean, I'm mainly on Instagram. I try to get on TikTok. It's just I feel like an old person. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. But yeah, I have Instagram. My Instagram name is Healing Lyme with Lo. And then obviously my podcast and my book. And then I have a website too, Healing Lyme with Lauren. I do some coaching as well.
okay.
And I'm working right now on like a course. It's a self-paced audio course for just all the healing things, like talking about limbic system, nervous system, just everything that's helped me get to where I am. So yeah, that's and the second book I was going to release a long time ago, and then life happened, and I was like, this is the last thing that I can deal with right now. But yeah, that book is called I Have Lyme Now What? And that's basically just like a journal, which I'm hoping, I'm not giving a date because I had to dates. But yeah, it's like just a journal for chronic illness warriors, and just kind of helping you tune into yourself, your heart, your mind, your body every day, and kind of just working through all these questions and helping you advocate for yourself and just become a lot more empowered throughout your healing process. And then the third book, because I just love writing so much, I've never said like the name of it because like I have no idea when I'm going to release it. And it's in the works of being written right now, and it could be years before I actually like release it, because I'm just such a perfectionist, and like I can't release anything till it's like I feel it's perfect.
Yeah.
But the title that I've always just like heard in my head, it being like He Never Left, and then it being like the subtitle like How God like fully and completely healed me. So all the books will come when they're supposed to. I love writing so much. It's my favorite. So yeah.
Maybe I can write a foreword in one of them for you.
Oh, I love that.
That would be fun. All right, Lauren. Well, thank you so much for being on. I really enjoyed, and we'll do another one for sure.
Yeah.